As you're seeing from the title, my name is Tsvetelina, and today I will tell you more about my experience in leadership, but also all about the bumpy roads I had to walk through. And first of all, I want to apologize in advance for any technical difficulties that we'll get to. This format is entirely new to me, and I'm sure for all of you too. That's why I want to prompt you all to use the chat in Hopin and to be as active as possible. I'll be able to see it from once in a while, and we'll use it for any questions along the way. I'll also make sure to cover them all as much as I can because we are kind of pressured of time. But also this would be my way to interact with you. So throughout the presentation, there are a few steps that I will chime in and ask you to reply in the chat, and this is how we'll collaborate with each other. But now on the subject, what is leadership? From my experience, it's nothing but a choice to walk on an unpaved road with the sole purpose of helping each other do better. So basically, it's for sure a choice, not a title. And we'll go through that in a second, because before I continue, I think it would be good for you to know me more, and let me introduce myself. I am currently Senior Product Designer at Falcon.io. We have a product in the field of social media management, and it's quite big. But before I got here, I was UX UI designer for a few years. And since I can remember myself, I've been drawing, which came in handy when I grew up because I am also a freelance illustrator. Moreover, I had a really, really early start. At just 16, I decided that graphic design is my passion and it's what I pursue. And a bit after that, and right on time actually, I was still unsure what to do with my life. So I tried a bit from everything. I went from graphic design to front and back-end development. I was even game designer for a bit, and I even tried project management. But finally, I found myself in UX UI and product design. And this is where things get interesting. I am workaholic in that sense, but I actually don't mind that at all because I really, really love my job. And at 23, I had the opportunity to become a head of design at a local startup. And throughout that time, I've achieved much more than I expected. And I was honestly so happy with where I was. Little did I know that I had so much more to learn, not so much about design, but about how the world functions. And to this day, my first work day at the startup, I was wearing my pink glasses and never understood the reality of being a woman in tech. I have never experienced before any sort of biases towards women in the IT field. I was living in my wonderful box, and boy, was I living in a bubble. I was so not ready for what I experienced, and although it made me learn a lot for a fast period of time, I wish I was aware of it a bit earlier. And hence, this is the content of the presentation right now. It is structured in a way that I can hopefully give you knowledge that I was lacking at time if you are ever in a situation like mine. And despite my position, despite my experience and proved abilities, and the fact that I was managing multiple products and projects and clients, all at once, all of my decisions were questioned. Everything that I said did not matter. And it was sometimes even turned into a joke. Now, I don't want to sound like the little sad and hurt girl that I was, but I for sure want to present you with another point of view. Neither I nor the people below me at that company knew what leadership and management is about. And it's a funny thing. How do you become a leader? How does one teaches oneself to lead? And in that sense, this is where I would like to ask you something and to help me with something. For the sake of that presentation, can you use the chat to describe in your own words, with no more than 1 or 2 words, what is leadership to you? What means leadership to you? And I'll be able to switch and see your answers in a second. Okay, enable your team to do big things. Empowering others, motivating, working together, to control, to inspire, being able to lead, leadership, empathy. Wonderful. all wonderful answers, and they are all right and wrong at the same time, because it's interesting, but there's actually no common definition of leadership. So we can at least try to start with the word lead and what it means to lead. It means to guide, it means to cause, to go with one, while the word leader comes from a path or a road. Therefore, leading is about guiding followers on a path. However, followers, or in that sense, employees, will not follow a leader blindly on a journey. Therefore, leaders must look forward, set up goals, provide direction for employees, and convince staff that we should do whatever we can to make the best out of it at the end. The more influencing, the more inspiring, and the more convincing a leader is, the more employees will adapt to leaders' goals and leaders' changes. Leaders are usually people who are very charismatic, very inspiring, very visionary, but most of all, they perform very well in chaos. And often, when we talk about leadership, the word management comes, and it comes as a synonym, which is actually quite wrong, because those two have a very big difference. And in that sense, let's do that exercise again. Can you guys help me again? Just write in your own words, 1, 2 words. What is management to you? And I will do the same. I am chiming in the chat area to see your answers. Managers set goals. Managers are functional. Coordinate, handle, command and control, organizing, multitasking, administration, decision power. Managers tell people what to do. Okay. All good answers once again. In that sense, they're all true and they're all wrong, because again, there is no exact definition for the word management. There is a specific meaning to the word manage, which means to control and to handle. But in general, a manager is a person who plans, organizes, commands, coordinates, and controls resources every day in his tasks. Managers are, in that sense, problem solvers who seek efficiency. They focus on getting things done. They are analytical. They are rational. They avoid showing empathy. And now let's compare those two. Leadership and management are two different and complementary systems of actions. However, according to Tim Hennigan and his book on management concepts and practices, which I will be able to link after this presentation, and reach out to me for any resources used in that presentation, to him, the most effective manager is the one who is also a leader. Nevertheless, it's not always possible to find people that are genius managers and genius leaders at the same time. The solution is often to find employees with management skills and employees that have leadership skills, and to make them work together as a team so that the company and the product are successful at the end. And it all comes down to leadership styles. But we can see a few points that are making managers and leaders very different from each other. For example, managers usually handle and control, while leaders usually guide. Managers take care of the planning, of the organizing, coordinating. They also control the whole process. So you had very true answers in the chat. Leaders usually guide, they convince, and they motivate and inspire the team. While managers are problem solvers, leaders aim to achieve goals with the help of employees. They don't tell people what to do. They are planning on how can everyone be happy at what they're doing and where they are. And when it comes to managers, they are usually analytical, efficient, tactical, and rational. But as I said, they avoid showing empathy, which could be considered as something negative. While leaders are visionary, empathetic, inspiring, they perform well in chaos, which is very essential for someone at such position. And back to my original story. I was not supported and not surrounded by leaders nor managers. And I was definitely not acting like one myself in such environment. I want to point out that before we begin our journey towards leadership, one must be aware of where one stands. Because in such pressured environments, in such stressful environment, I was not performing as a leader. I was not leader at all, which led me to my initial point. How are women treated as leaders? And it is sad to see the statistics because they show that women hold 30% of the entry-level roles and approximately only 7% of major leadership positions. That is sad, not only because of the inequality, but because it's a shame. Women are better leaders in general, and yes, that has been scientifically proven, to which I will get to in a bit. It all comes down to leadership styles, because you can be a great leader and you can be a genius manager, but if your leadership style is not the right one, then you're basically screwed. And for women, it all comes down to leadership styles. In general, characteristically speaking, there are three main leadership styles. They're first described by Kurt Lewin, and he tried to prove that personal traits are not responsible for successful leadership, but the leadership style itself is. And he proved that there are three main styles of leadership. The first one is the democratic leaders. They usually involve staff in decision-making. They give employees an overview of their goals, which should be the goals that should be reached, and they advise. They are helpful, and in that sense, employees can feel good in their team. But when it comes to the second style, which is the autocratic style, so the autocratic leaders, they make their decisions alone. They manage the group tightly and only command individual goals and actions of each employee. So that the staff is not, usually the employees do not understand the overall goals. And this is where the problem with micromanagement comes along, and overall when culture does not come before money or customers in a company. And last but not least is the laissez-faire leaders, or the so-called do-it-yourself type of leadership. Those leaders provide information but no direction for their employees to not become too involved. Then again, they give some information, but not all of it. And usually employees in that sense become frustrated and disorganized because they have no sense of direction and no idea what they should do. Unfortunately, the research failed to show which of those leadership styles is the most effective one, because all of them can be effective in different situations, but that research did not disclose which leadership style should be applied under which situational factors. And in today's times of great changes, leaders can be visionary, they take risks, they use skills based on awareness and social empathy and organizational awareness. So it all comes down again to leadership styles. And in that sense, women as leaders are proven to be very successful, because once a research concluded by the Catalyst disclosed that once a female is included in a specific leadership role within the management, there are a few things that are happening. For example, they usually get 53% higher return of equity, they get 42% higher return of sales, and 66% higher return of investments, which is a lot. And that is only because that slight change of adding a woman to the team of leaders has happened. Women, for the emotional beings that we are, it's the essence of our nature to help maneuver the previously described leadership styles and come up with a unique combination. I don't want to categorize anything. I would just simply put out the data that was driven by that research. And in comparison, Men are more competitive when women are actually cooperative. Men usually tend to control, while women are low on control and they usually go for collaboration. Men are unemotional and analytical problem solving, while women are focused on problem solving based on intuition, empathy, and rationality. And men are leading usually top to down, focus on commanding and controlling, while women are democratic, participative, and they care about employees. And they also come with two other qualities. They are supporting and they're positive, and both men and women have this charismatic nature. But those characteristics are not true for all women. They're also not true for all men. I don't want to go for stereotypes. This is only solid based on research. And with that, I want to point out a few things. What is stopping us to be leaders? As women, we are seeing glass ceilings, which are invisible but existing ceilings that block us from leading positions for men. They still exist in many areas, and men usually get to leading positions much easier than women. There are a few stereotypes. The first and the basic cliche is based on traditional division of labor. The second cliche refers to personal gender characteristics, of course. There is choice of career, and we're women before all, so we definitely need child support, and not all companies can provide that. And this is my favorite part, and since we have 4 minutes left, I will go through it in a very, very speed motion. How can I make a change? Well, first of all, any leader should go over and understand what is emotional intelligence. This helps not only the leader itself, but helps the whole team. And overall, emotional intelligence is the core of what leadership stands for. And what can we do as employers? There are the 4 waves of intervention, or the so-called the waves of intervention. The first wave is about gender equality in recruitment. So there shouldn't be men being hired more often than women. The second wave is to enable women to be women, so therefore child support and so on. The third wave comes about creating supportive networks, so we should all support each other. And the last wave is preparing women to be leaders, so that means a lot of trainings, including them in leadership position and international events as well. Last but not least, what can we do as employees? We should stop relying on others. Women should have more self-trust and more self-awareness. They should set up goals. They should build up to it. And what I personally do, and has proven me a great value, is whenever I am on an interview for a job, I am setting my goals in the beginning. So if I tend to strive for a leadership position or something to do with management, I am saying that from the beginning, and throughout my career in that specific company, I am working towards establishing that goal, which always helped me, and I advise you to do the same, because we have to act on it individually, but also together, because it all comes down to that. If we don't act on it, we are not going to achieve anything. And also, we are met with thousands of biases along the way, no matter the gender or the position, and it's our responsibility to make something out of it. And with that, I want to draw the finish line and conclude that for change to happen, we should all strive for it. And we have only 2 minutes left, which allows us just answers to 1 or 2 questions, but make sure to type those in the chat. I will look into them right now. And for those of you that I will not be able to answer your questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or even on email. I will make sure to engage with all of you and answer everything that I can and be as helpful as possible. So I see the first question is about something. You mentioned something in the beginning about leadership. How do you define it? To me, honestly, leadership is a choice. It's not a position. And one should not become a leader just because he has been in a company for, let's say, 8 years, and now it's time to promote him towards a leadership and management position. One is a leader by choice, because not everyone performs well in chaos. Not everyone performs well in under pressure. So we should have to consider those things, whether the person who is a leader actually strives for it and actually decided on it. I see other questions about books on emotional intelligence. I'll make sure to reach out to send some. Are you going to share the presentation somehow? I know that there is going to be a recording on YouTube after that. After the event is over, it will take some time to upload all videos to YouTube, but there will be resources there. And we're out of time. Thank you everyone for joining, and hopefully we will talk soon. Bye.